To Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, we've always had to maintain a very careful balance with nature. Australian continent for us is the centre of our identity. It is our mother, hence the expression Mother Earth and Mother Nature. And of course, the Australian landscape and geology and the hills and the creeks explain the activities of our ancestors. As a race of people who didn't have a written language, it was vital for us to be able to record history with the creation of rock art imagery, with the performance of dance, with the telling of stories. Because if we didn't do those things, that information would not have been passed on to the next generation. And subsequent generations would not have learnt the very harsh lessons which our ancestors have had to learn, trying to eke out an existence on this very harsh continent. Like a lot of Indigenous peoples around the world, many of the stars and constellations in the night sky are part of our Dreamtime creation stories. The stars might talk about the activities of ancestors, which may then deliver a warning or a message to subsequent generations.
A boundary rider called Charles Russ discovered a lump of mineral that he thought was tin. And when he had it surveyed, they discovered it was silver, lead and zinc, and it became the greatest find the world has ever seen. That man went back to his boss, and they finally in 1888 registered the company called Broken Hill Proprietary Limited. When mining began, what little vegetation was around soon got fed to keep the mines going, the smelters going and so on. It ended up being a very, very harsh, sparse land for people to live on. It would not have been an easy place to live. I lived in the peak of the city, full employment for starters and good wages. The wages on the mines were exceptionally good. Mining companies by then were providing this wonderful lifestyle for its people. Up until the 70s, it was still a thriving as fully employed city. By the 1980s, the South Mine ceased production, and that was several hundred men. That, of course, caused quite a lot of people having to leave town. So since then until now, you've had more and more mines closed. Mining itself has changed, so you haven't got the numbers in the mining industry in Broken Hill today that you once had.
So the sparkly bits, if you will, the reflective surfaces are the pyrite mineral. That pyrite mineral is what contains the cobalt. So the process is basically to crush this up down to the same particle size as beach sand.
We're just going to turn the AGI of ACO3 on, so we'll get that going.
Start at 25 hertz?
Yeah.
Work it out.
Yep. Copy, Jack.
Copy, Page.
Copy.
I worked on the mines, but I was a tradesman, a fitter machinist, later an electrical fitter, later still refrigeration and air conditioning contractor. I did work underground, and it's a different world. It's so far removed, the general public just wouldn't know. The size of the machinery that I worked on underground, massive Wabco loaders, huge things. You wouldn't think they could possibly run around. You think how dark it is on a dark night when you walk outside. That's nothing. You know, underground, when you turn your cap lamp off, there's no darkness like that. You know, put your hand right up in front of your face, no sensation even that's there. Yeah, it's a different world.
One of the most common constellations that appears in Indigenous cultures is the constellation Pleiades, often described as the Seven Sisters by my ancestors and by a lot of First Nations groups here on the Australian continent. And back in the Dreamtime, the Seven Sisters lived on the land in human form, and their role was to go around and teach God's law. But then a mischievous frog started teaching Aboriginal people the wrong law. So Gulawara became angry and he caused the deaths of many of our peoples. And I think that punishment was so harsh so that lesson would be forever remembered by our peoples. Gulawara sent the Seven Sisters up into the sky where they became the constellation Pleiades. They appear in the northern sky during summer in Australia. And summer is the most dangerous time for drought, fire and flood. So they appear in the northern sky during summer to remind us that we must continue to maintain the balance of Mother Nature. Australia has always been a land of boom and bust. There are good times followed by bad times. And in the driest continent on Earth, we need to maintain that very precarious balance, because if we didn't, we were going to have very hard times indeed.
Many years ago, an apprentice who worked on the mine rotated into my department, and him and his dad had built a telescope, and he asked me if I'd like to go and have a look at it. And I'd never looked up. I was like most of the population. People don't look up. They have no clue, mostly, as to what's up there. Eventually, I did go to have a look. Arrived at this lad's house, and on the back lawn behind his house there was this telescope.
I'll leave this park down there.
And he pointed out this point of light. This looked like a star, and that's what we're going to look at. And I had a look, and there was Saturn, full ring system, Cassini division, subtle banding in the atmosphere. I couldn't believe that this homemade a bit of kit in this lad's backyard, that you could see that. It just floored me. That was something I had to get into. So I built my first telescope. That is really nice, raw data. So that's 72 frames a second. When it came to pass that our mine was sold, it just suited me to finish. So I did, took a retrenchment package, and I thought, what am I going to do? And so I applied for a postgraduate degree in astronomy. There's a thin dark band and a bright band above the rings, and I'll lay alignment points in there. And then I'll also drop a couple. That's south, bear in mind. So about 55 degrees south, I'll drop a couple. Yeah, there's a connection between my experience working on the mines, in the mines, and astronomy. Nothing really gets launched into space that isn't a direct result of mining. You know, solar panels, batteries, the physical structure of the spacecraft. You can all sort of look back and see the connection between mining the materials that allowed the development of our missions to space, NASA. None of that happens without the raw materials. Mankind has to leave Earth. The sun's going to expand to be a red giant. Earth will be a cinder. The oceans will have evaporated. We're talking a long time. This isn't going to happen tomorrow, but the end game is that steps need to be put in place now, and we will need to leave planet Earth. I think space travel, it's just something that we have to do.
When those first ever photos of Earth taken from the moon became available to us as a race of human beings, we all started to realise that, hey, you know, our Earth, where everything has ever happened and everything we know about, is just one little jewel in the vastness of space. I think that we as a human race are being far too hasty with our colonisation of other areas of outer space, because we haven't exactly got it right here. And does that mean that we are going to go to somewhere like Mars or the Moon and repeat our mistakes? We have to get away from this idea that all of Mother Nature is just a resource to be exploited. As Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in Australia, we've had to deal with the issue of that mindset of just taking resources, taking. In this particular part of Australia, mining has been central to the economy since the 1880s. It's something that was imposed on us without our permission. We need to consider how we go out into outer space and do that very delicately, because otherwise we're just going to transfer the problems that we have here to other places out there.